Flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. Like I might be the new coach in Montreal in 2 weeks. Like they have a new coach all the time, and they always have, oh yeah, we're playing a new system. They're like, they have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. Like it's a real disaster. But they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
The Club World Cup preparing the United States for the World Cup next summer? Soccer superstar Gareth Bale joins us to discuss this, plus his latest ownership efforts for his hometown club, Cardiff City FC. And it's fight night! How is a historic all-women card at the Garden, headlined by Taylor Serrano, changing women's boxing? Welcome into our 50th episode of Front Office Sports Today, presented by Atlassian from our FOS studios in New York City. I'm Renee Washington, and as they say on Love Island, a new guest co-host has entered the villa.
I am honored to be here for episode 50. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Curran Bhatia. Thank you so much for joining us. Every weekday, we chat the biggest storylines happening in the business and culture of sports. We know Cooper Flag and Bronny James starting their mini rivalry, right? Almost like a mini Magic and Bird or Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. Let's first dive into the headlines in the shoot-around.
Yes, and starting with big news out of Milwaukee, probably. As Giannis Antetokounmpo says, he'll probably stay in Milwaukee. Now, the two-time MVP was on a live stream with iShowSpeed when he was asked about remaining with the Bucks this season. Now, he said, probably, we'll see, probably. I love Milwaukee. He also did mention how a lot of people have been trying to convince him to go to New York. Yeah. Now, we know also Brian Windhorst was speaking on Get Up on ESPN and mentioned there are about 5 or 6 teams that are definitely chomping at the bit, seeing that probably, much like the open-minded comment, still leaves the door open for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let's give credit to Speed for breaking this news. It's a whole new world with streamers. The other thing, too, for Giannis, I mean, this sounds like a situationship when you're asking if you're serious or not. Probably. What does that mean? But to your point, Renee, it's Brian Windhorst said the market not necessarily there. They're not actively looking to move in. And we know Dame is gone. The other part of it, too, is the Knicks, right? There's been a lot of chatter. Giannis gave a nah. He said, nah. But if you look at what the Knicks did last season, I mean, why wouldn't you want to come to New York?
Exactly. So you've got Miles Turner now. You've got the stretched contract for Damian Lillard. And then, of course, for the Bucks, they were able to retain and keep Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter Jr., Taurean Prince. So they are making some moves, probably. But there are no probablys or we'll sees with the Oklahoma City Thunder on their future, as they've now locked in Jalen Williams to a 5-year max rookie extension. That could reach up to $287 million. And the reigning champions became the second youngest team in NBA history to win a title, and then proceeded to lock in their top 3 talent, all starting on July 1st. Now, their 3 new extensions signed for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Williams combined reach up to $822 million. Curran, the Thunder are still expected, though, to be under the luxury tax heading into the season.
Yeah, that's crazy that they're still under. But the biggest thing is that number, over $800 million locked up, right? And I think that's going to be at one point over 86% of their payroll. But at the same time, these are young players. They're proven. They won a championship. So I think a lot of teams could actually take notes and say, okay, this is probably the way to build a franchise for the future.
And it is still scary. They have a lot of flexibility with draft picks and their salary to make some other moves. Well, also for Caitlin Clark, she continues to be a part of breaking records. Her rookie cards are expected to break sales. Thursday night, 2 of her rookie cards started to go on auction, and now they're both projected to break the $366,000 price point of her previous record set back in March for the most expensive women's sports card ever. And over in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz is doing the same, leading the charge in trading cards and memorabilia sales. It all started back around the French Open with that Alcaraz-Sinner matchup in the final. It's continued into Wimbledon that he's also breaking sales.
Absolutely. So women's sports finally getting the recognition it's so long deserved. And now women's trading cards, right, with the Caitlin Clark effect, and that will have ripple down effects. Collectibles are having a moment here. It's because of NFTs and Fanatics Fest and everything, and we're seeing that play out in these expensive cards.
Absolutely. It's good to see, from signature sneakers to trading cards to memorabilia, jersey sales. Right now, there's a boost in the market without a doubt. All right, well, for the first time ever, Madison Square Garden is hosting a professional boxing card tonight of all women, headlined by Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. So what does this historic fight mean for boxing? Let's take a look at that in our main event. It's the history, the controversy, the rivalry growing out of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano in their trilogy fight. We've got several other talented women on the card tonight at Madison Square Garden. You're going to be there, Curran, yourself. And what I like about this is, aside from the women, it's the price point. Boxing, especially male or female, has always struggled to give fighters the big stage and the big check. And tonight, we're seeing both.
Absolutely. This is a massive event, not just for women's boxing, but for all of boxing and all of sports, right? This is historic. There's going to be 21 world titles at stake tonight. And the biggest reason that we're all excited about this is, yes, of course, women are getting the platform that they need, but you really have to give it to these two warriors, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. They've already had 2 fights before. They were razor thin close fights. And now we're seeing the trilogy fight. It's going down in Madison Square Garden, and it's broadcast globally on Netflix. And that's a big deal because boxing has been behind closed doors for so long. Pay-per-view, cable networks. Now we're seeing it available to 300 million global subscribers on Netflix.
And that's the key. I mean, we've seen Netflix continue to have a boost in their subscribers, as you mentioned, that $300 million number. That also has allowed them to have more live specials in sports and events, whether it's the roast of Tom Brady or the NFL games on Christmas Day. They've done so much more, even in comedy, of sports and entertainment on a big moment. And to have that opportunity now bring those fans to something like this, it just elevates what boxing can potentially do, which is why we also are seeing a big point of things like the $1 million package that was being sold for whoever wants to sit in attendance ringside to have the access. You get the opportunity to be at the weigh-ins, you're right there at the ring, and you get this incredible moment. That's a ticket sale package for someone that actually who bought that. That is not something you see typically in other sports, especially in boxing.
This is an event. This is happening. Now, of course, the Tom Brady roast was also an event. I'm a suffering Jets fan, so seeing Tom Brady get roasted, that's all we really got. But yeah, this has become such an event, like we mentioned. So Torque Law has actually bought that $1 million package, valued at $1 million, those seats up there, and they sold out Madison Square Garden. So not only an event in terms of where it's streaming, right? And we know that Netflix has big plans in the sport of boxing. Later this year, there's going to be a massive mega fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. And so it seems like Netflix has been slowly getting into that live sports game. And this is the whole new world, right? This is the world we're in. And so we're seeing that play out. And it's just good that fighters who have dedicated their life to this sport, like Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, started boxing at such a young age. And for so long, to your point, didn't get the paydays they deserve, didn't get the audience they deserve. They're finally getting it on this platform. And let's hope that continues.
And let's talk about those paydays, because that's a big part of this as well. I know you and I had a chance to be a part of that Netflix documentary, more exposure, more opportunity to peel back the layers, go behind the scenes. And a big part of that is the efforts of people like Jake Paul and others, of course, that are actively looking to raise the ceiling of what boxers, period, are getting paid. Because when you look at the numbers, it's insane that you had a price point of about $5,000 to $15,000, $20,000 for some purses previously, whereas for this fight, every single fighter has a chance to be eligible for a $250,000 performance bonus. And for boxers, typically, as you're doing maybe 1 or 2 big fights a year, because physically you just cannot do much more, it's hard to sustain a living wage off of that. And boxers like Clarissa Shields have come out and talked about it, many others, that it's not sustainable. You might be an Olympic athlete, gold medalist, and going home and unable to pay the bills. Yet this is a massive step towards giving boxers honestly a salary or pay that makes more sense as a professional athlete.
No, 100%, right? These are warriors going into the ring, and there's actually been fighters who have died in the ring. So we have to, you have to give credit to these warriors every time they go in. And so you want to take care of your fighters, right? And there's some ways to do that. So credit to Jake Paul and Nikisa Bedarian of MVP for allowing fighters to have the platform, get financially compensated the way they deserve. The other big part of it is fighter safety, right? And attention to fighter safety. And that means more regulations around the sport, more testing, things like that. We need to get more of that coming. And I think the biggest thing is just, like we said, the history is so important here of this event because they've had the 2 fights before this, and now this is that third big trilogy.
And it's a great way to capitalize off of that because the trilogy itself has been, the previous 2 also had people clamoring for weeks talking about it. It was the head butting and the controversial plays and calls and non-calls, and just the way these 2 left it all out there in the ring is also what they were able to capture fans in such an authentic way through that. So you're putting on a good product. This is great boxing. You're also showcasing, different backgrounds, different types of fighters, different diversity within those fighters. So there's so many layers to how they're able to capitalize on this moment. And it has helped in terms of providing a sold-out arena at Madison Square Garden where you're getting ticket prices that are similar and comparable to what, let's say, the Knicks had in their playoff run. So very excited to see this, Curran, right now. And I'm excited that you'll be able to be there to take it all in.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a lifetime of work for Amanda Serrano. She's representing Puerto Rico. She's representing Brooklyn. Katie Taylor from Ireland. And so it's all coming together for this big event.
Absolutely. Well, after this, we've got to talk soccer with the legend Gareth Bale joining us to talk about Cardiff City FC. And we're also looking around the soccer world. So more to come after this break on Premier League, MLS, Club World Cup, and much more on the other side of this break.
That is the idea, it really is, for in-game live. You said it. The home team, who's a double-digit or close to it anyway, favorite, and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at Pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. He's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking in to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. It's really bad. Now the past couple weeks, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to Front Office Sports Today, presented by Atlassian. I'm Renee Washington, and let's talk soccer because the Club World Cup final is set. PSG faces Chelsea in a battle of the 2 European club champions. So what have we learned through this event, especially with the FIFA World Cup less than a year away? Plus, what's the latest on Gareth Bale's attempts to buy his hometown club, Cardiff City FC? So let's welcome in the most capped player in Welsh soccer history, one of the greatest of his generation, Gareth Bale. So happy to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Gareth, you've scored hundreds of goals on the pitch, but one goal off the field that you're looking to be able to get done is getting involved in investment and ownership. Now, born and raised in Cardiff, you had an uncle that played soccer there as well. You have a lot of ties to Cardiff, and you've been a part of an investment group that's looking to get a stakehold and own, I should say, Cardiff. What is the latest on where things stand now? Any news to break?
Yeah, no, so yeah, some kind of, I guess, exciting news. We have a brand new offer on the table. Was recently just gone in, so yeah, we think it's a great offer, one that we think, and we're very happy. We think it's very fair, very, if not more than fair, and yeah, something that we hope the current owners will take serious, and yeah, we'd love them to accept, so we can take, I guess, full control and yeah, get on with what we want to do and create Cardiff into a club that we know it can be.
Fingers crossed we're getting closer to pen to paper on that, but we have seen former athletes like yourself, celebrities, business owners getting involved with ownership in the great sport we love in soccer. What is drawing so many to want to invest in Europe right now? I mean, about half of the Premier League ownership alone is American ties, but just people outside of the traditional soccer. What is drawing people to the game, in your opinion?
I think it's just growing. It's becoming an even bigger global sport than it already is. It's exciting times. I think, yeah, just having more and more investors is only going to grow the game. I think now TV deals are making, I guess, the audience even bigger everywhere. And yeah, I think it's a good time. I think athletes enjoy watching soccer, football, what I call it. So yeah, and I think they're passionate about it. So to be involved and kind of have that team to support and really feel passionate about is something that I think all athletes are really enjoying, and you can see why they're getting involved.
Yes, and it's such an exciting time for soccer, for football in general. Right now, of course, the Club World Cup final is set, but we've learned so much of this, whether it's the weather delays around heat waves and storms, attendance fluctuating, also just how it's been rolled out, grass versus turf. What are your thoughts on this, especially since many are looking at this as a pilot for next summer for the United States, especially hosting the World Cup? What are your thoughts on how the Club World Cup has really been rolled out in the United States currently?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a massive success. I think just because it was the Club World Cup, it's kind of the first major big 32 competition of the Club World Cup. So it's kind of a new competition in terms of the size. So I think at the start, maybe it didn't have as much traction and as much fan engagement as they would have liked. But I think as you've seen the tournament go on, I think the attendances have come up, the quality of football has gone up as the better teams have come through. And yeah, like I said, it's been kind of a very good plan to do this year and ready for the even bigger one next year, which is the World Cup.
Yeah, with the World Cup expanding to 48 teams for the first time, I'm excited and hoping that this now will set all of the country up to be prepared for the World Cup next season. But also with this has led to questions around the congested schedule. You've played it, you've gone through it. Yeah. Your former team, Real Madrid, actually was hoping that and put in an offer to see if they can get that August 19th La Liga fixture pushed back to October. That was denied, unfortunately. Do you think this is too much soccer right now with so much being done and just overlapping seasons?
Yeah, it definitely can. From a player's point of view, it's a lot of football. I think if you look at other sports, they get 2, 3, 4, 5 months off sometimes. So I think I was speaking to a few of my friends yesterday in the Madrid team, and they're going to get about 2 weeks off, and they're going straight back in. So yeah, it's a cause for concern. It's a cause for burnout and maybe a lot more injuries leading into the World Cup next year because just of exhaustion and tiredness, fatigue. And I think, as you know, playing football before it, you need that recovery. Every sports person will say recovery is probably the most important. So to not have that time off is concerning from a player welfare point of view. But I think, yeah, it's a difficult one because there's so much money involved in the game now that every new tournament brings in so much money. It grows the game. It brings more riches. I guess you can buy more players, makes it more exciting. So it's a difficult one to kind of balance out. So yeah, at the moment there's too many games, but hopefully in the future there's kind of some compromise where it will relieve the players of so many games and just give them that bit of rest that they need.
Hopefully. Let's talk money, though, because the Premier League, especially as they have last season generated about 6.3 billion euros in revenue, a 4% increase. It's led to some other conversations around the financial gap from the top to the bottom in the Premier League. As someone that's obviously very familiar yourself as a player with commercial deals and broadcasting rights and even paywall being brought up around broadcast being behind the paywall and inaccessible for everyone. Where do you think the Premier League sits in trying to close that gap to make it even maybe more competitive from top to bottom?
I think they did a good job years ago where they are distributing the money more fairly throughout the league. And I think that's what you see now when teams are coming up, they're still spending as much as the bigger teams. But the bigger teams are always going to have that advantage because the players want to play for the best teams and the ones that they've watched through history. So, it's difficult, but the gap definitely can be closed by distributing money more evenly. But again, I think you need to be rewarded for how well you're doing, and obviously the ones who are doing more should and obviously will earn more, which will just always give them that advantage.
Well, as we wrap up, you've played for the best teams, Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, MLS, which was your final stop before you retired, winning a championship with LAFC, of course. The MLS has been seen as a retirement league as they try to become a top league in the world. Where do you think they really stand in taking those steps that are necessary to truly be at the top of competition in terms of competing with the best teams, acquiring the best players in their prime in terms of soccer?
I've been asked this question many a times, and unfortunately it does come down to money, to finance. If you're being offered quadruple the amount to play in Europe and you're not being able to get that here, it just, as anyone will tell you, in a job, you need to be making money. You want to make as much money as you can, and it's unfortunate to say, but the reality is it is a job. You have a short career. You want to make as much as you can, but also win as much as you can. So I think if the finances go up in the MLS, you'll be able to attract more players because I think you have the infrastructure in terms of the teams and the stadiums and the practice facilities. But I think to get to that next level, the money is going to have to increase in terms of to get up to level with Europe and ultimately money talks.
There it is, from one of the best of his generation, one of the best players ever to wear a Wales jersey and to play the game itself. The answer is money. So Gareth Bale, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. And after this quick break, we're going to talk more here on Front Office Sports Today. Stay tuned.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Get the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school?
Dude. Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh, that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
They'd be like 80 times. They'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. It's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Front Office Sports Today, presented by Atlassian. Renee and Curran here. And as rookies are making a splash in their NBA Summer League debut, according to TickPick, Cooper Flag versus Bronny James Lakers matchup, sold out Thursday night. That game was one of the most expensive Summer League ticket prices in league history. But how did Cooper Flag's first game with Dallas set off a ripple effect through the NBA? Well, let's now welcome in our FOS reporter, Alex Schiffer, who is out in Vegas right now, fresh off of watching the game. Schiffer, nice to have you here, as Thomas and Mack Center on the campus was the place to be last night. Now, besides Flag's failed dunk attempt, what else jumped out at you with the way the NBA has continued to grow the Summer League as a must-see exhibition game?
Yeah, it wasn't Nick's Celebrity Row, but you had more people there than you'd usually see, whether it be Kyrie Irving from coming off his ACL rehab to check in the game, Roy Williams, Hall of Fame coach, Ashton Genty, Heisman finalist, now with the Raiders. I need a second there, but it wasn't. I think Summer League basketball is like glorified AAU, but I think that Cooper Flag and Bronny James didn't have the best box score type of game, but it was down to the wire. Bronny had a chance to hit a three to end the game in the final seconds. I think if you're the NBA, you couldn't be much happier with the way this went, given that, again, you have a second-round pick who's more known for being his father's son, and a rookie who is obviously, we've had a mixed track record, obviously, of who plays well in their first Summer League game or not for the number one pick. So, I mean, if you're the Adam Silver, you can't ask for much more given it's a Summer League game.
You definitely can't ask for much more. We know Flag was 5 from 21 for the field. Alex, I'm curious, you're out there. So with the whole vibe check, we know this specific game got a lot of attention, and that's because of the stars there, right? Cooper Flag and Bronny. They're trying to get their own little rivalry going, right? How do you think that momentum will continue, right? Are all the games going to have a big showcase, or was this because of the stars?
It's a good question. Usually the first game for the number one overall pick has some semblance of rivaling a sellout or flirting with high ticket prices. Victor Wembanyama's first Summer League game, reminds me of that a lot. But to your point, that game was Thursday. Today's Friday. We still have the weekend. I'm kind of curious to see how crowded it is for Cooper Flag's second game this weekend. The following Lakers games. I guess my curiosity that whole time there last night was, to your point, like, how many people were there for Cooper? How many people were there for Bronny? How many people were there for the both of them? And what does it look like when you kind of take that apart now and you have one in each on the court instead of both of them at the same time? So I'm skeptical that we're going to see anything like what we saw last night from a crowd perspective. I think that those games though will be a little bit more filled than the rest as long as Summer League's going.
And when you look bigger picture at what leagues do in their preseason games, NFL preseason, spring training for baseball, even the WNBA with their historic preseason attendance numbers, how has the NBA continued to use the Summer League as that launching pad into the regular season, the excitement of the long season?
Yeah, I think people forget too. I think Summer League gets such a big deal sometimes because it's in Las Vegas, but obviously there's still 4 preseason games, I believe it is, before the regular season. I'm old enough to remember there used to be about 7 or 8 preseason games back in the day, which is like the NFL preseason on steroids, to your point, Renee. But I think the biggest thing this has brought for them, obviously, is the presence in Vegas. And, Adam Silver has that Board of Governors meeting on Tuesday. We'll see if they announce expansion talks. There's a lot of people here I've talked to who are anticipating it or think it's very close. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that Summer League has done for the NBA here is it gives them a footprint in Vegas. I think that if you want to play the what-if game, does the NBA Cup exist and have the finals in Vegas if it weren't for Summer League here? Where is Las Vegas in the pecking order for an NBA expansion team if it happens? Everyone thinks they're 1 or 2. Are they even in the top 5 if it weren't for Summer League? So I think that that's the biggest thing that this has given the NBA from a preseason perspective is just a presence in a city that it's known for being in a city it doesn't have a team in, and I don't know how many leagues can say that, basically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, great points, Alex, and tremendous job down at UNLV in your coverage. Thanks for joining us so much as you're at the preseason or the Summer League in that sense. And now let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Did you know Air Jordan's former mansion in Highland Park, Illinois is on Airbnb? Yes, Michael Jordan's house that was built back in '95 when he played for the Bulls. It did sell in December for $9.5 million, and the new owner has posted the mansion on Airbnb, so you can now rent the 7-bed, 17.5 bath. with tons of amenities like a theater, a gym, a saltwater aquarium, a cigar lounge, and you just have to sign an NDA, a waiver, and pay us $25,000 security deposit.
That seems very reasonable. Only 17 and a half bathrooms, right? It's like looking at these numbers. It's like, late night when you get on Zillow and you're like, only 20 million. Meanwhile, you're, financing the Chipotle burrito on Klarna. So the numbers are high, but remember, the nostalgia is there for Air Jordan. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of guests in this Airbnb.
Yeah, a minimum 7-night reservation, no parties, no events, and only $121,000 a week. That's all. But that'll be it for us here today. I hope you guys enjoyed Taylor Serrano tonight at MSG. And thanks to our special co-host here, Curran. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you Monday to talk MLB All-Star, Wimbledon, and much more on Front Office Sports Today.